Welcome to the Dad and Cole Football Patrol.
I'm Dad.
And I am Cole.
So what's going on, Cole? What are we at? Episode number 6 here, I think we're doing, right?
As you should see, we did the behind the scene video.
So yeah, you're right. So there's like a few different other types of videos behind the scenes, asking people to subscribe to our channel. So we're putting some different kind of stuff up here. But I think as far as like the tried and true video podcast, I think this is episode number 6, which is really cool. So what are we kicking off with today?
Dez Bryant trade rumor.
Yeah, so what do you hear is going on with Dez Bryant?
He might get traded.
Well, here's my take on this. I think the Cowboys would love to trade him, but he's an 8-year receiver. He's due to make a big number next year on his contract. That's what's kind of leading to some of these trades.
But like, if they cut him before a certain date, the team, he can like go to whichever team, but the team that gets him doesn't have to pay anything.
Yeah, and see, I actually think that could potentially be the most likely outcome, because unlike the OBJ, the Odell Beckham Jr. trade rumors, where I think there would be teams
and the Rob Gronkowski trade rumor.
Well, right, and that's another one where I think teams would line up to make offers for those two guys. I don't see anyone lining up to make offers to Dez Bryant, an aging receiver, a guy who last year had a really
I think the Jets could maybe take him.
Yeah, but I don't think any team's going to want to take on that kind of salary cap number for a guy who may be declining. Now, look, do I think he can go to a new team with a fresh start and put together like a solid year receiving? Yeah, I do, but I think he's going to have to get released in order for that to happen. I don't see... You going somewhere? I don't really see teams lining up to make a trade for Dez Bryant.
So now we're going to talk about the Eagles trading quarterback Patrick Robinson.
Yeah, and I actually think he was a free
Saints.
I think he was a free agent, though, Cole. I think it was the Eagles' decision and players' decision, Robinson, to try and work out a deal. But I think he got just a much better offer.
I think they're not gonna. I think like he's not gonna be like Marshawn. I think he's not gonna take Marshawn Lattimore's job. He's gonna be a slot.
Oh, I get, yeah, so I agree. I think he's probably going to have the same type of role that he played so well for the Eagles last year. He made a huge impact as a slot guy. And let's face it, with the way the league's such a throwing league anymore, you absolutely need 3 starting quality cornerbacks. And I think the Saints picked one up with Robinson.
But we'll have to see next year.
Okay, so who's next on the docket? Who else are we talking about today?
Aqib Talib.
Yeah, so Aqib Talib signed with the Rams, but you know what? I think this is a good opportunity to bring up the entire next topic we're talking about. So we want to identify some teams that we felt were either winners or losers in the 2018 free agency period, and this includes signings but also trades. We're looking at both those activities. So Cole, you brought up Aqib Talib. I'd imagine the Rams are one of the teams that you thought was a big winner this offseason. Let's hear your thoughts on the Rams.
So they signed Aqib Talib. They also have like someone else from the Dolphins, I think.
Ndamukong Suh.
Yep.
They just picked up a big D tackle to pair with Aaron Donald.
Yeah, and if those two, Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh and Aqib Talib, if those 3 are all there. But Alec Ogletree left to go to the Giants.
Right.
But those 3 are still really good. So if they still have all of that, I think they might be able to go to the playoffs again.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the Rams have had themselves.
But they also lost Sammy Watkins, and they also have Brandon Cooks.
Well, right. So out goes Watkins, but in comes Brandon Cooks, or the real aggressive trade they made. So I'd have to say, just on paper, we both agree that they're a winner in the free agency period. They improved themselves.
They're definitely a winner.
Yeah, they improved themselves mightily. So who's another team that caught our eye that we thought did a good job?
The Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, look, guys, we're a little biased. I'm sitting here in my Eagles shirt. We're unabashed
But they
Eagles
really
fans.
did.
They did. So let's talk about why.
They got Michael Bennett.
Yeah, they made a big trade from Bennett from Seattle.
They got a D back from
Panthers, right? In that trade. Yeah, so out goes Torrey Smith in a trade to Carolina, and in return, and the guy's name escapes me, but it's...
Oh, and they also have Mike Wallace.
Yeah, they picked up Mike Wallace in a free agent move Well, it wasn't for Torrey Smith, but to replace Torrey Smith. It was a separate move they did. But back to your initial point with the Torrey Smith trade, we got a starting caliber cornerback, which they're expected to plug in and start from day one. And then also Haloti Ngata, a big, strong, stout presence in the middle for the defensive
They're
line.
looking to go for the playoffs again.
From your lips to the football god's ears, my son. All right, so who's another team we thought was a winner in NFL free
the
agency?
Niners.
Yeah, I think the 49ers keep
Well,
this.
they had like Richard Sherman.
That's a good
They
move.
lost Carlos Hyde,
They
but
did, yeah. But they picked up Jerick McKinnon, right? Now, we're looking at this just in the 2018 free agency period, but we'll kind of give them a pass and cheat a little bit and acknowledge it, like the Garoppolo deal, because of where that happened in the middle of the end of the year last year. We're almost kind of lumping that in with this assessment of them. But between that and Sherman and McKinnon, like they are doing some things to steady a young up-and-coming team, so we like what they've done so far. How about the Cleveland Browns? What about the job they've done?
well, they got Carlos Hyde, Jarvis Landry,
Made a trade for a starting caliber quarterback, Tyrod Taylor.
but I don't think it'll be a starter. I don't think they would draft someone like a first-round QB because, like, you know how much good quarterbacks there. They have Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, and also they have, I feel like Josh Rosen.
Yeah, so I get where you're going with this. I think the Browns owe it to themselves as an organization.
And I think they could like get like Josh Allen, cause like I think like he could be like a really good one and like a really good QB, cause like Jarvis Landry's like good on the long pass and like Josh Allen has a really good arm. They might not take a quarterback in the draft.
No, it's possible. I mean, they could go Saquon Barkley and then get an impact.
I don't think they would take Saquon Barkley because, like, look, third down running back Duke Johnson, and I think they're looking pretty good all of a sudden. Like, I think they might have, like, a chance going to the playoffs.
No, I think they could, and that's going to be a segment we're going to get into in a little bit. Teams we think that put themselves in position to make the playoff runs. But let's stick with our winners and losers for right now. Any other winners that you saw in free agency?
I saw the New York Giants.
Yeah, I agree with you. So talk about some of the things they did.
They got Jonathan Stewart, Nate Solder.
Yeah, Nate Solder, offensive tackle from the Patriots.
They also got
Ogletree, who you mentioned earlier. That was a trade that they made. So I agree. I think the Giants...
I think they could go into the playoffs too.
Yeah, it seems like they've made a plan that they want to address this year, but also I'm sure they're going to take a quarterback with that second pick in the draft. But on paper, they've made some moves to, from what I think, build around Eli, at least for the next year or two. So I agree with you. I think,
and if they take Saquon Barkley, like Jonathan Stewart could be like a third down running back, or Saquon Barkley could be an all-down running back.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Saquon would have to be the guy, but in the NFL anymore, you always need at least two running backs, so I think there could be a role for both. I think Stewart brings some veteran presence and leadership to a backfield that's just been a mess for the Giants and for Eli. So I think he's going to appreciate having a steady veteran in the back. Oh, any other final guys we want to think about for
The
winners in
Dolphins.
free agency? Yeah, now this is a little bit of a controversial one because some people might think with Landry departing that they've had a questionable, but I thought you brought up some good points. Talk about what you think.
So they got Danny Amendola.
Yep.
I feel like they got a running back. I forget his name.
They picked up Frank Gore, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken, right? They got Frank Gore. So two veteran guys to a team that needs some veteran leadership. I think the Dolphins are still a bit of a hot
They're
mess.
both like Danny Amendola could do like jet sweeps. And then you got Frank Gore, who could be all-down running back.
I agree with you. Amendola is kind of like an all-purpose, move him all over the field kind of guy, and Gore is just he's a grinder. You keep waiting for the bottom to fall out for an aging running back, but Gore just keeps showing up and steadily putting up numbers. So
Like they had like a Ajayi, but then they don't have Ajayi.
Right, they traded Ajayi to our beloved Bird. So that's kind of, those are the things where it makes me feel like they're still a bit of a hot mess, but they've made some moves.
But then to pick up Frank Gore, like, he's older than Ajayi. He's been in the league more. He looks like he should be retiring soon.
But he just keeps plugging away, right?
So now we're talking about the teams that are losers. Yes. And they're all good teams, really.
Yeah, so these are teams that we thought kind of had some stinky off-season moves. So who are some of those guys, Cole?
The Bills, they didn't, give anybody away, but, they gave Tyrod Taylor away. But then, coming in for QB position, they have A.J. McCarron, who stinks.
Yeah, I agree. Look, they downgraded a quarterback, but I think clearly they're trying to be the Eagles of 2 years ago in clearing some space and getting aggressive to move up and try and land their quarterback for the next decade of Bills football. So I think that's what their intention is there. But on paper, they've lost some guys and don't look like they've been winners up to this point. However, in fairness to them, after the draft, that could change mightily. Who else have been some losers?
The Seahawks.
Yeah, the Seahawks. I mean, you almost got to ask what's going on there. I mean, tell us. So, what are the moves and what do you think?
They lost Michael Bennett, Richard Sherman,
Paul Richardson, I believe, wide receiver.
Yep.
Thomas Rawls, running back, is gone, I think.
They lost. I know
Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, that's who.
They lost Jimmy Graham to the Packers.
Took the words out of my head.
Yeah, so I mean, talk about some some high-profile, big-name players, some big personalities, impactful production guys that are all gone, and
they're like the star of their whole team.
Yes.
Except for Russell Wilson.
So you almost have to think that they're just stripping salary cap, almost kind of like in a rebuild. But to the point you just made, when there's a guy like Russell Wilson at the helm as your quarterback, I think you have a shot every year to come in and compete. However, for the purpose of this segment, losers in free agency, right? So let's give one more loser team for free agency.
The Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is another team that looks like they're kind of clearing.
They were in the Super Bowl last year.
Yep.
They lost Malcolm Butler, who wasn't playing in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They might lose Rob Gronkowski. They also lost Deion Lewis, who's their star running back.
Yeah.
Except they still have James
White.
Yeah.
They have a few running backs there, but Lewis was an incredible player.
Brandon Cooks
Gets traded, yeah.
Mm-hmm. They also Nate Solder,
starting lineman. Danny Amendola, who you just talked about. So again, a lot of big name guys gone from the Patriots. But like with Russell Wilson, when you have a Tom Brady there, you always have a chance. All right, so Cole, let's now look at teams across the league and look at teams that last year did not make the playoffs. However, we feel just based on moves they've made so far in this offseason, have put themselves in a position to make the playoffs next year. So, Cole, I'll turn that over to you. Give me a team that you think didn't make the playoffs last year, could be in this year.
The Browns.
Yeah, listen, I agree with you. I think on paper, there's some potential for an explosive offense with Taylor in the long ball, Josh Gordon, Jarvis Landry, Duke Johnson.
You mean that I'm going to Tyrod Taylor. You mean they might sit him down and get a quarterback in the draft?
Well, that might happen, but I think if that does happen, I don't think they have any shot of making the playoffs. I think the only chance they do have of making the playoffs is if Taylor starts all 16 games for him. Like he did for the Bills last year, I think he has the potential to put together a little bit of a run, but like you're saying, I don't think that means he's the long-term solution, but Cleveland has been mired in a culture of losing. They got to get some wins under their belt. I think Hugh Jackson's coaching to win next year as much as he is to look for his next quarterback, and I think he starts and tries to stick with Taylor and tries to compile some wins. I could see them sneaking into the playoffs. Who else?
The Niners.
Yeah, I think you and I both like the 49ers, right? Tell me what you think.
So they have like Richard Sherman,
Matt Breida or Matt Breida, I forget how, I think it's Matt Breida how you pronounce the name, but he actually had a pretty solid year last year. So him paired with McKinnon, I think it can be a decent running back combination.
So I think McKinnon could be a third down running back, and that dude could be an all down running back.
Yeah, but I think overall, though, with Garoppolo at the helm, some moves they made, I think Shanahan's a young up-and-coming offensive mind in the league. I think they could sneak into the playoffs, especially in that division. Who else?
The Denver Broncos.
Yeah, here's another one, Cole. I agree with you. Give me your thoughts. Why do you see them back in the playoffs potentially?
Because, look, they have, like, Case Keenum, Von Miller, two good guys on, like, offensive ball, defensive side. And they have C.J. Anderson.
Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders on the outside of the receiver positions.
Receiver.
Yeah, receiver position. So I'm with you. I think there's a legitimate foundation on defense there. Some playmakers, and now you add Case Keenum, and I think that division is up to be had. All right, Cole, now if it's the NFL and there's teams that we expect who didn't make the playoffs to get in there, then the equal and opposite scenario typically is the case as well. Let's look at playoff teams last year that we think could potentially fall back and not make the playoffs this year. Kick one off for us.
The Patriots.
Listen, this is a controversial move, but I kind of agree with you. I mean, it's kind of silly to bet against Belichick and Brady, but at some point, there's got to be a season where they leak gas a little bit. And I just feel like with the Gronk stuff going on, apparently there's some, dissension a little bit between Brady and Belichick. I think oddly this could just be the year where, they maybe have like 8-9 wins, but don't get in the playoffs. What do you see happening?
I'm like with you. Like they might not get a ton of wins. They might be like this, 11-5, but like that's still okay. They might get in the wild card, but lose.
Yeah, I think if their record's 11-5, they're probably going to be a playoff team. I think that almost guarantees you a shot. But I think we see some cracks in the foundation there. Both of us do. And that it could be a step back for the Patriots this year. Who's another team that was in the playoffs last year, could take a step back and not appear this year?
The Falcons.
Yeah, I think there's some issues, it sounds like, with their offensive coordinator and with Ryan. They made a nice run at the end of the year last year to get into the playoffs. But that game against the Birds, our beloved Birds, thankfully, they got snuffed out on offense. So what do you see as some potential issues for them heading into this year?
They still have, like, Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Devonta Freeman. And, like, they still, like, and they also have this guy named Coleman.
Tevin Coleman,
yep.
Right, is the other running back.
And they also have Mohamed Sanu. So they sound like they're going to be in the playoffs, but I don't think so.
Yeah, so you just rattled off a bunch of good players that would make most people think, well, wow, that sounds like they should be in the playoffs. When I look at the Falcons, I also look at the division they're in, and the first step to getting into the playoffs is winning your division. The second step is trying to get a wild card. I look at the Saints, and I look at the Panthers in that division. Even the Bucs, I don't know if the Bucs are going to be in the mix at all, but I think the Saints are going to be formidable. I thought they were a dangerous team last year. I think they should be one step better this year. Breeze is still just absolutely dialed in, and Kamara and Ingram in the backfield are scary. So I think the division that the Falcons got to make hay in is what's potentially going to cause them the most trouble. Who's another team that may not get in?
The Steelers.
Interesting. So people think of the Steelers as a perennial powerhouse. Why do you think they could have some issues heading into this year?
They have Le'Veon Bell, Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown.
So again, this is a similar situation.
And also Jesse James.
Yeah, Jesse James at tight end. So this is a similar situation where you just named some guys that would make most people think like, well, it sounds like they should be back in the playoffs. However, there's been some odd situations in the locker room with Big Ben getting older in age. It sounds like he had some little mini squabbles with like players in the news, like him and Antonio Brown, comments back and forth. Le'Veon,
that mean?
like there was some dissension, like calling each other out for their behavior. I think Antonio Brown had a blow up, and Big Ben made a comment about it in the papers, and then Brown's like, "Oh, you need to handle that stuff in the locker room," and yada yada yada. There was some weirdness there, and they still haven't figured out Le'Veon Bell. Is this guy going to be under contract and participating in the offseason participating in off-season activities? If he's not, I just think that puts them off on the wrong foot. And there's only so many runs a team can have in them when there's this kind of like just swirling incohesiveness around the locker room. I'm sorry I'm boring you. All right, Cole, so the last bit of news that's been hanging out there has been a change in league policy as far as rules on the field. Do you want to just mention what this is?
I think like the owner of like every team.
Yeah, so you're right. This happened at the ownership, kind of the league meetings down in Florida. And what came out of that was a new helmet rule that leading with the helmet is no longer just something defensive players that are hitting wide receivers in a defensiveless position.
And running backs.
Well, right now it's expanding to include everything. So even offensive guys lowering their head and plowing into a defensive guy, they can get a penalty. So the helmet and the head is being officiated entirely out of NFL football. What's your gut reaction? Is this good for the game? Does it worry you the quality of play is going to change?
Sometimes on Madden, my team does that. He like bulldozes with his head.
So your Madden game might even change then, right? Are they going to have to change Madden?
He bulldozes his head into the other player's stomach and he falls down.
Yeah, so that's exactly the kind of stuff they're looking to get out of the way. Look, listen.
No penalty.
Bottom line, I love my NFL. If that's what these guys need to do to reduce concussions, to keep players safe, to keep the game going and moving forward and progressing, I'm all for it. I know the purists and diehards say, "Oh, you're officiating the physicality out of the game, and that's what we love." I think there'll be plenty of physical play and nature within the sport still. I think they're just trying to make it safe and make players safe. I'm all for that. You?
But football's a rough sport, so.
Amen to that.
It's like baby super cup.
So guys, Cole and I want to hear from you. What is a playoff team that was in the playoffs last year that you think has a chance of not making the playoffs this year? Please leave a comment. Tell us who we might have missed, and then give us the opposite scenario. What's an up-and-coming team that wasn't in the playoffs last year you see making the playoffs this year? Leave a comment. Let us know who you think. Also, we would love for you to hit subscribe to our channel here at the Dad and Cole Football Patrol. Be an active member of our community. We love covering news, rumors, trades, previews, highlights, anything and everything across the National Football League. This is football discussion for families. So thank you. Please hit subscribe. Thanks for checking out the video, Cole.
See ya.
Yeah, see you guys. Take care.
And if you don't get to watch it, it's still okay.
Yeah, that's right. Even if you don't watch it, we got love for you no matter what. Well said.